Have you ever seen those videos of the royal guards? The men in red coats, tall bearskin hats, standing frozen outside Buckingham Palace. People dance, yell, wave their phones in their faces. But the guards don't flinch, don't blink, don't even look at you. They're like living statues. But here's what no one tells you. If you touch them, even accidentally, they can turn, shout straight in your face, and make you back off in sheer fear. And yes, they carry real rifles, with real bullets. This isn't cosplay, they're not mascots. They're trained soldiers, bound by code, tradition, and something far colder than discipline. Let me show you just how far they go. 1. Guard once received news his mother had died, but he didn't cry. He didn't leave. He finished his shift, fully armored, motionless because the ceremony comes first. Another collapsed from heat exhaustion, but not before standing 2 more minutes, completely still, his body trying to hold position even as it failed. Think those rifles are for show. In 1982, a man broke into the palace. A royal guard fired a real shot, no hesitation. And once, a tourist blocked a guard's path. No games. The guard drew his ceremonial sword, raised it, and pointed it straight at him, a silent warning that crossed centuries. Now imagine this. In the game Stellar Blade, there's a skin called the Royal Guard suit. You can't just buy it, you have to defeat a brutal boss to earn the right to wear it. In real life, it's the same, except the boss is yourself, your fear, your exhaustion, your ego, all crushed. Beneath silence, you don't just wear the title of Royal Guard, you become it, or you break. So the next time you see one standing there, motionless, don't shout, don't laugh, don't even blink, because they're watching you, and they've never lost a staring contest. Let me tell you what I saw with my own eyes. It was a bright, cloudless afternoon in London, the kind of day when tourists crowd outside Buckingham Palace, phones raised high, hungry for likes and angles. A guy, maybe early 20s, probably American, stepped out from the crowd with a smirk on his face. He had that look, the kind that says, "Watch this, I'm about to go viral." He walked right up to one of the Queen's guards. Not close, too close. Close enough that his phone screen reflected off the guard's polished buttons. He started recording, joking, making faces, doing that half dance people do when they think they're being edgy. And the guard didn't flinch, didn't move, didn't even blink. That just made the guy bolder. He leaned in, phone practically touching the guard's face, and whispered something I couldn't hear, probably something stupid. And that's when it happened. Boom, not a literal boom, a vocal one. "Stand back from the Queen's Guard." The voice came out like thunder tearing through a church. It wasn't just loud, it was pure authority, condensed into one split-second eruption, and it shattered the moment. The tourist jumped back so hard he nearly dropped his phone. His face, once cocky, was now pale, and the crowd dead silent. You could hear someone drop a coin on the stone. The guard had turned slightly, rifle tilted, not pointed but raised, ready. His face still stone, but his body had changed. There was tension now, precision, like the calm right before something very, very bad happens. Here's the part people miss when they scroll past these videos online, that shout. It's not a prank, not a script. It's a calculated response, drilled into soldiers who stand for hours in silence, but remain ready to act in seconds. Because these guards aren't actors, they're not tourist bait. They're trained, combat veterans. Some of them, they've seen things far worse than TikTok. And if you touch them, block them, threaten them, even as a joke, they have legal authority to respond with force. This isn't a movie. There's no second take. That shout is your one and only warning. And after that, tourist stumbled away, blinking like he'd just come out of a nightmare. The guard, he turned back, reset back to stillness like nothing had happened. No smirk, no anger, no adrenaline. Twitch. Just silence and steel. And that, right there, chilled me more than the shout, because I realized this wasn't about a man getting yelled at. It was about someone brushing up against something sacred, something that doesn't flinch under pressure, something that doesn't break character even when everyone else around them does. And I thought to myself, this isn't just a guard, this is a wall, and the wall never moves for the noise. I'll never forget the first time I stood in front of a royal guard. That it was a quiet morning in London, light drizzle in the air, barely enough to wet your coat, but enough to sting your cheeks. There he was, tall, still red as a flame in the middle of grey stone. A figure so motionless, I thought at first he was a mannequin, until I saw his eyes, not blinking, not scanning, just fixed somewhere behind me, or maybe beyond me. That's when it hit me. This isn't performance, this is control. Ruthless, razor-sharp control. People call them statues. Some even joke they're just paid to stand there, right? But ask anyone who's actually seen them up close. There's something unsettling about that stillness, something too perfect to be normal. That's because they're not just soldiers. They're symbols, forged in ceremony and silence. They don't flinch when you wave. They don't react when you shout. And if you think getting a royal guard to laugh will win you internet fame, you've missed the point entirely. These men, and yes, sometimes women, are trained to do the one thing most of us can't stand doing. Be still, be silent, be seen and never respond. Now imagine that. You, standing in one spot, in full dress uniform, for hours, rain sliding down your face, tourists poking jokes, kids shouting gibberish, phones flashing in your eyes like lightning every 3 seconds. And through it all, you don't blink, you don't scratch, you don't move, because movement, to you, would mean breaking a line that's been held for hundreds of years. And here's what no video ever tells you. These guards, they're not ceremonial props, they're soldiers, real ones. Many of them have seen war zones, not just wedding parades. Behind that stiff collar and flawless posture is someone who slept in the dirt, heard the crack of live fire, and marched through heat that could boil metal. He's not there for you. He's there because someone has to stand where tradition still matters. Asterisk. And don't think for a second they're powerless. Don't step in their way. They will walk through you, lay a hand on them. That silence you thought was weakness becomes a weapon, a shout, a shove, a rifle shift that reminds you this is not your stage. This is sacred ground. I once asked a guardsman off duty how he managed to stay so still. He smiled, the first expression I'd ever seen from one, and said, "It's not about stillness, it's about knowing you're being watched and not needing to respond." That stuck with me, because in a world where everyone's screaming to be heard, the most powerful man in the square is the one who says nothing and still commands the whole space. So next time you see a royal guard, don't test him, don't try to break him, because that silence, that stillness, it's not just for show, it's what makes him bulletproof, long before the rifle ever does. Let's get one thing straight. Royal guards may look ceremonial, but they are not ornaments. They carry real weapons. They follow real rules of engagement. And sometimes, those rules are not just written, they're enforced. They carry real guns, and yes, they've fired them. Tucked under their arm is the SA-80, a British military assault rifle. It's not a replica. It's not for show. It's not an accessory. It's loaded. And while most people have only seen these guards standing silent and still, there was one moment in 1982 that reminded the world just how real this all is. A man had breached palace security. He got closer than anyone ever should. There was no time for warning shots. A royal guard raised his weapon and fired a sharp, decisive crack that echoed off the courtyard stone like thunder in a cathedral. No one was hurt that day, but that single shot cut through the illusion. These soldiers don't just wear tradition. They protect it with steel and lead if necessary. They're not background actors in some royal fantasy. They are the last line between spectacle and threat. The guard whose mother died and he didn't leave his post. This story didn't go viral. It didn't need to. One morning, a royal guard was halfway through his shift when someone delivered the news his mother had passed away. No reaction. He stood silent, exactly as before, motionless, impeccable, unflinching. When asked later why he hadn't stepped down, hadn't requested relief, his answer was quiet. "I'll cry later. Right now, I'm on duty." There are no medals for that kind of composure, no headlines, no tick. Just one man, alone in his uniform, holding together centuries of discipline while his world was falling apart inside, and that is a kind of strength most of us never have to test. The man who passed out but tried to remain standing. Imagine this, it's -3 degrees Celsius. The ground is hard with frost. The wind slices through woolen skin. You've been standing still for over an hour, boots tight, breath shallow, spine locked. And then your vision narrows, your head swims, your muscles tremble under layers of wool and brass, and still, you don't move. One guard collapsed under those exact conditions. But what haunted onlookers was this: even as his knees buckled and his eyes rolled back, his arms remained tight to his sides, his back still stiff. His body, until the final second, was fighting gravity to keep the posture, to not break formation, to not fall in disgrace, because this wasn't about personal comfort, it was about upholding the line. That's not reflex, that's not muscle memory. That's something deeper, a kind of programming made of tradition, duty, and sheer human will. The sword drawn over a stare. Not every confrontation involves shouting. Sometimes, it's a look, a moment. A man once stood directly in a guard's path. Not by accident, he wanted attention. He locked eyes with the guard, smirking, challenging him, daring him for a moment. The crowd thought nothing would happen. Then, in one clean motion, the guard reached across, unsheathed his ceremonial sword, and raised it between them. Sharp end forward, no words. Then one, loud and clear, "Make way for the Queen's Guard." No chaos, no fight, just power, controlled, direct, and final. That sword wasn't drawn out of rage. It was drawn out of ritual. Because in that moment, the man had not just blocked a soldier, he had insulted centuries of sacred order. And the guard reminded everyone, even silence has its limits. So the next time you see a royal guard and think, they're just standing, there, remember behind that uniform is a soldier who's held a rifle, buried a mother, fought his own body to remain upright, and who, when tested, will not flinch. That's not just duty, that's the edge of human resolve, honed sharp, like the sword at his side. I didn't even like the royal guard suit at first. I mean, it's stunning, don't get me wrong. Jet black with red accents that pulse like a warning light. Clean lines, tight form, a cape that doesn't flow, it hangs, heavy with weight. I still remember the exact moment. I unlocked the royal guard suit in stellar blade. It wasn't triumphant, it wasn't loud. There was no explosion of light, no heroic fanfare, no "you did it" badge. It was quiet. Just a short message on the screen, "Royal Guard suit unlocked." I stared at it for a few seconds, then set the controller down, because deep down, I knew that wasn't just a reward. It was a judgment, and honestly, I wasn't sure I was ready to wear it. Let's back up. The first time I saw the Royal Guard suit, probably in a trailer or a fan mod preview, I thought, yeah, looks cool, another edgy costume. But when I finally got it, after hours of failing, learning, and clawing my way through boss man, I realized something. This suit doesn't want to make you look good. It wants to make you feel the weight of having survived. Something, let me describe it to you, not just visually but viscerally. The suit is black, not glossy sci-fi black. It's matte textured, heavy looking. The red accents don't flash, they glow from beneath, like something burning low, under steel. It doesn't shimmer or flirt, it commands. The silhouette, sharp, clean, no wasted edges. It looks more like armor than clothing. Not built to please the crowd, built to endure them. And the helmet, it changes everything. Once you put it on, Eve no longer looks like a protagonist. She looks like a ghost of authority. No face, no expression, no room for softness. It hides everything human, and what's left is presence. What struck me most, though, wasn't the way it looked. It was the way it changed how I played. Eve moved differently, or maybe I did. Every dodge felt tighter, every swing more deliberate. I stopped rushing. The suit made me careful. It made me aware. It felt like I wasn't wearing something powerful. I was borrowing it, and I was constantly afraid I hadn't earned the right. That's what makes this suit so strange, so brilliant. Most games give you cosmetics to show off, to stand out, to get noticed. But the Royal Guard suit, it dares you to blend in, to disappear, to become something beyond ego. It's not about being flashy, it's about being unshakable. The fight with Boss Man was hell. There's no shortcut to him, no cheese strategy that works twice. You have to learn his patterns, time your dodges, accept failure again and again. And through that process, you start to change. You get quieter, more patient, less reactive. Funny, right? The path to unlocking the suit was the same path the actual Royal Guards must walk. Restraint, repetition, discipline, composure. The more I learned about the real-life Royal Guards, their history, their rituals, their impossible stillness, the more the suit made sense. It wasn't trying to honor them with fashion. It was translating their silence into armor. They stand for hours. Don't flinch, don't react, don't answer provocation. That's not weakness, that's mastery. They don't wear their uniform to be admired. They wear it to disappear into a standard older than themselves. And now, here I was in a video game wearing something that forced me to do the same. There's a moment when you walk into a fight in this suit and the camera catches Evie mid-turn, cloak shifting, helmet gleaming dull in the light, and you realize you don't look like someone trying to win anymore. You look like someone who's already paid the price to be here, and that's the difference. Other outfits say, "Look at me." The Royal Guard suit says, "I've already proven everything I need to." I don't equip it often, not because I don't love it, but because it demands something from me when I wear it. I play sharper, I talk less, I don't rush fights, because wearing that suit feels like a promise to carry silence with weight, to wear control like a second skin. And when I unequip it, I don't feel weaker. I just feel reminded of what it took to get there, of what it means to earn something without needing applause. The Royal Guard suit is not just a cosmetic. It's a reminder that real strength doesn't seek attention. It simply stands when everything else breaks. So here we are, after all the noise, all the footage, all the facts and echoes and sordid moments. We've seen what the Royal Guards truly are. Not costumes, not memes, not tourist traps, but men and women who wear stillness like steel. And it makes you wonder, could you stand that still? I mean it, not just physically though, even that is more than most people can bear. But mentally, emotionally, spiritually, could you stand, locked in posture, while strangers shout in your face? Could you let someone wave a phone an inch from your eye, laugh at you, curse at you, mock your existence and do nothing, not because you're weak, but because you're holding something that matters more than your feelings? We live in a world obsessed with reaction. Everything is urgent. Everything is loud. Be faster, be louder. Clap back, be seen. But the Royal Guard stands for a different idea. One almost foreign to us now. That real power doesn't chase attention. It simply stands still, unapologetic, unbothered by noise, untouched by mockery, because true strength doesn't always explode. Sometimes it endures. When I think of the guard who received news that his mother had died and still finished his shift, when I imagine the one who passed out from cold but tried to remain upright in his final seconds, when I remember the guard who unsheathed his sword because a man dared to mock the ritual, I don't see soldiers anymore. I see mirrors, reflections of what we all wish we could be when life tests us. Focused, silent, and unbreakable. And then there's the suit, the Royal Guard suit and stellar blade. What started as a cool reward turned into something far more unsettling, a visual, a symbol of what it costs to carry silence like a shield. You earn it not by pressing buttons fast, but by dying, learning, adapting, growing quieter. And when you finally put it on, you don't strut, you don't gloat, you move differently. Like the weight of that armor is watching you, asking, are you worthy of this silence? The guards in real life wear something heavier than armor. They wear duty. And it doesn't come off at the end of the day. They don't get a round of applause when their shift ends. No badge lights up, no crowd cheers. They step down, walk away, fade into the building because the point was never to be seen. The point was to hold the line. I wonder sometimes, what would happen if we stopped moving for a minute? If we stopped clapping back, stopped explaining ourselves, stopped performing and instead stood still. Let the noise pass, let the moment test us, and answer only with our presence. So I'll ask you this, the only question that matters now. Could you stand still, not just to prove a point, but to protect one? Not to win, but to endure. Because anyone can move, anyone can speak, anyone can strike, but to stand still, to hold your ground in silence, that's something else entirely. That's not weakness, that's legacy. The Royal Guard is more than a soldier, more than a uniform, more than a frozen silhouette on a tourist's Instagram. He is a symbol, a paradox wrapped in velvet and steel, a reminder of a time when people didn't need to shout to be heard, when silence was not absence but command. And maybe that's why this image, a man standing perfectly still, surrounded by noise, holding a weapon yet choosing not to use it, still haunts us, because it feels alien and yet oddly familiar. Like a part of ourselves we've forgotten that we live in the age of movement, of scrolling, tapping, reacting in milliseconds, where every pause is seen as weakness, where silence is assumed to mean guilt. Everything is curated, edited, optimized for attention, but the Royal Guard in full regalia stands unmoved. He doesn't chase the lens. He doesn't flinch when provoked. He doesn't beg to be understood. He just stands. And that's why he becomes the center of the frame. Not because he tries to, but because we can't look away. In an odd way. The more modern the world becomes, the more these ancient rituals begin to feel like rebellion. Not rebellion in the loud, aggressive sense, but rebellion in its purest, most disciplined form. Self-mastery. 2. Be the calm inside the storm. To know who you are without needing to announce it. To carry the weight of tradition not as a cage but as a compass. Some people laugh at the Royal Guard, mock the stiffness, call it outdated, but they miss the point. Rituals don't survive because they're practical. They survive because they anchor us. Because when everything else changes, the rules, the politics, the noise, the man in red still stands. He reminds us that strength doesn't always need a spotlight. That honor isn't about being seen, it's about showing up exactly where you said you would be, exactly as you promised you'd be. In that sense, the Royal Guard isn't just guarding a palace, he's guarding an idea, the idea that some things don't need to adapt to stay powerful, that dignity can exist without drama, That in a world obsessed with motion, stillness is a kind of power we've forgotten how to use. Maybe that's why the royal guard suit and stellar blade struck such a chord. It's not flashy. It's not reactive. It's quiet, composed, clean, and to wear it, you must prove not how loud you can be, but how much you can withstand without breaking. It's a digital echo of a very real truth. The most commanding presence isn't the one that enters the room first. It's the one that doesn't need to move at all. So maybe, just maybe, that ancient red coat, that tall bearskin hat, that stare that never breaks, isn't something we've outgrown. Maybe it's something we've outgrown. Maybe it's something we need now more than ever. Not because it's royal, not because it's old, but because it reminds us that silence, when chosen with purpose, is the loudest thing in the room. So next time you see him standing there alone, quiet, immovable, don't wave, don't shout, don't smile. Just look, and ask yourself, are you strong enough to hold his gaze without breaking first? Because he won't. He never does. If you've made it this far, maybe you felt it too, that some stories don't need to be loud to echo for a long time. We're not here to ask for clicks or subscriptions, but if there was a moment in this video that made you pause, even for a heartbeat, to reflect, to feel something stir, or to fall silent with the God himself, then leave a comment. Not for the algorithm, but for the sake of putting something true into words. A thought, a question, a quiet realization. Even just I saw myself in his silence. Because sometimes the most powerful truths aren't spoken in the video. They come from the people listening, that we read every single one. Each comment, it becomes part of the story. Each voice, a thread in this tapestry we're weaving of people who still believe in stillness, in honor, and in the weight of unspoken things. Thank you for being here. Tales and Truths.